thoughts on the beautiful orange and blue debut or whatever the hell they call it in these days. Spring game. They'll honor the basketball team at halftime.
Oh,
Let's go to the Titan and More Highline courtesy of Comfort Temp. JC, are you excited for the spring game?
I can tell you are. At least you're working it, and you get
Yeah,
to
that's
watch
going to
it.
be a lot of
At
fun.
least you get paid to watch it. I, you know, so I don't think it's going to rain in Augusta. I think it already rained
No,
over. Yeah, I think it already rained. It
it's
rained last.
done.
Yeah,
Done.
so that may have softened up the greens a tad, but the greens are all that course has. But man, some guys just exploded. I mean, Rory McIlroy's double bogey on 15 is
Yeah, but
laughable.
let's if
What,
people
what,
didn't see it,
huh?
Roy McIlroy hit the perfect drive. He hit the perfect second shot.
Double bogey 15.
Got screwed. Hit a decent chip, but what people
Got
don't know
screwed.
is, and I don't know if you know this, JC, two holes before that, two holes, two groups before Rory's. Did you see what Patrick Cantley did?
I did not.
Okay, he did the same exact thing. However, he hit his second shot that ended up behind the green, chips it, rolls in the
Right.
lake, drops, chips it again,
Yeah.
rolls in the lake. He
Yeah.
took an eight. Uh, yeah, so
Well,
Rory played in a really good round until that hole, and it was a
yeah.
bad. You know who else got a horrible break? I don't know if you picked him or not. Let me see. You did not. So Hideki Matsuyama,
I saw him miss about a 3-footer for
I think
both.
he's at even par, JC. He goes
Plus
to,
one.
he hit a bad, not a great tee shot on 12. So he had to lay up.
Yeah.
So he has what, 60, 70 yards in.
Uh-huh.
He hits his wedge, bounces about 4 feet from the hole, boom, hits the flag stick and shoots into the creek. Just terrible luck. It would have been about a 4 footer for birdie. Instead, he makes a 6 or 7. I can't remember.
Well,
So
listen, on the show, I picked two Georgia Bulldogs who played like their football team did against Notre Dame at +6. And I do have a Lowry and Scheffler, but on Hard Rock today, I hammered Harris English. We had a
another
list,
Georgia Bulldog.
so we had, yeah, but definitely not as bad as the other two. We had we had a listener talk about Harris English, and I poo pooed him off on Wednesday. And I right now got him at 100 to 1. So I threw $20 down there, and with a 10% profit boost on Hard Rock, I can win 22-20. So I think at 100 to 1 at 2 under par, this guy is just going to slowly just hang around. I think it's a great bet. Get on the Hard Rock and get that. Today, the wind's going to blow pretty heavily, relatively speaking, 14, 15-mile-an-hour winds. That could get hairy for some guys on these par threes. But there's a lot of great names up there on the leaderboard. I'm not surprised at all that Justin Rose is the first round leader, and he was 100 to 1, or no, he was 60 to 1 to be the first round leader on Hard Rock. And so Justin Rose, I don't know, he's going to get the afternoon tee time today. That's going to be a little bit tougher than the morning. The wind's going to be blowing, and like I said, that could be a little bit more difficult than the morning crew. And I'm not sure when Rory's playing, if he's in the morning or in the afternoon, because he was kind of in the middle there yesterday. But Scheffler is. I mean, he's just going to be there, whether you like betting on him or not. You get no numbers on him; it's short numbers all the way. So you got to look for some value out there. And I think you can look at Terrell Hatton. He's getting 60 to 1 right now. I think that's good value. And I think DeChambeau will be hanging around. Out of the live guys, Terrell Hatton and DeChambeau are the only two live guys that are even competitive right now. I guess you could say Cam Smith to a certain extent. But guys like Rahm and Mickelson and Koepka, these guys and Dustin Johnson, they are not competitive golfers anymore. They have taken the money and gone on with their lives. They're not professional golfers in these majors. They're just not. They can't do it. Rahm has completely fallen off a cliff. He is a shell of the former player he used to be, and it's because
Patrick Reed's
he doesn't
one
compete
under. He's
anymore.
in
Yeah,
11th.
okay, that's another one. But he plays Augusta well, Patrick Reed. He's always been good there. He's a former champion. But I just think it's amazing how some of these guys who went to live, took the billions, are not competitive. They're just not. They're not. They're
Yeah.
not. Dustin Johnson is horrible. He's awful, and so is Ron. And it's Koepka doesn't care. I just don't think it's good. But that's what we're sitting at right now. I can't wait to watch it this weekend. It's kind of one of those weekends where you just have to tell everybody you're unavailable. You're watching the golf.
Unavailable.
I'll tell you what, here's a great round. Bactia, whatever his name is, Badia. Akshay Bhatia. How about 5 birdies in the last 6 holes yesterday? He started out something like 3 over. He was nervous. Comes back and just laces the back 9 and gets himself in contention at 2 under. I think that's a great run.
He had a really dumb shot on 15 on the second shot. He tried to hit a slice around the trees.
Oh,
It went in the water, so he made a 6. Kanye Ron on YouTube brought to you by
okay.
This 12 is the par 3. I meant 13. 13 part of Amen corner when Hideki hit the pin.
Yeah. Well, listen,
bad break.
That is a bad break. There's, that's just golf, though. That's just golf.
So your Peachland Dental picks, JC. I'm gonna recap what we have, and then you can tell what your value picks are, or whatever you called them. JC had Russell Henley. I don't know. He shot $1 million, right?
Him and Strachan both shot $1 million.
Strachan. Koepka, I think, is 1 or 2 over. Shane Lowry, what's he?
He's 1 under.
And then obviously you got Scotty, who's in the hunt. I have Xander, who's played horrible. He's only 1 over, so he'll be in the hunt.
Not healthy.
I don't know what my man from Scotland, Robert McIntyre, did. Rory blew up. Patrick Cantley blew up on 15, one of the easiest holes out there.
Yeah.
Colin Morikawa, I don't know what he did.
He's even. He's even part. Listen, these guys are still in this. I mean, I'm not going to say that a 7-stroke lead after the first round is going to win you the tournament. You can lose 7. Listen, we all saw what happened on Sundays at that tournament to guys like Jordan Spieth and people like that. But it's not over by any stretch of the imagination. Today's a big day, and I think the greens are going to be a little bit easier for them because of the rain last night. So we might see better scoring today, less blowing up. I think the nerves and the jitters are going to go away. That first round is what it is. I don't think Justin's going to go wire to wire, but you could have gotten him yesterday at 60-1. And that's what you look for when you bet on these things.
The Gator golfer there, the amateur Noah Kent, he shot 7 over par.
Okay.
But who cares? Go have fun.
He'll get to play one more day. He'll get to play one more day.
He'll play one more day, and I would fire at every flag stick if I was him.
That's right. That's right.
Russell Henley.
Here's a good one.
Noah Kent tied Russell Henley.
You can get. I got Corey Connors at plus 1750. That's $30 to win $555. I think Corey Connors, with the way he hits the driver, is absolutely alive. He is 4 under after the first round, but way he hits the driver, his accuracy off the tee, he is definitely live at plus 1750. Bryson DeChambeau plus 1750. That's another 30 for 555. And then Ludwig plus 1750 yesterday. That's $30 to win 555. You throw that $90 down, you win one of those 3 bets, you're profiting big time. And those 3 guys are absolutely live. Connors, DeChambeau, and Oberg. I love those plays right there.
Baseball got a win yesterday against Missouri. Softball cranks up. I got something in my throat. At Ole Miss today.
They need to sweep Missouri just to stay breathing.
Yeah, because they're not out of it, but they have to go like 13 and
they got to sweep Missouri
in the last 17
They
games.
have to sweep Missouri. Not 2 out of 3, not 1 out of 3, 3 out of 3. They have to.
Greg says, which he's totally wrong here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law.
What?
It's not complicated. The golfer who makes his shots will win. That's not true. Hideki, I just gave you a great example. Hideki Matsuyama played the hole perfectly, got screwed. His ball hit the pin and shot into the creek. So he hit a perfect shot, whereas Rory on number 15 hit a perfect shot on his second shot, but it didn't check and went over the green. So golf is strange. Marshall says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing.
All right.
Marco Rubio celebrated the national championship as part of his report in yesterday's cabinet meeting, and the president committed to an invite promptly for the team, all national. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Who was there yesterday or the day before?
Dodgers.
North Dakota State?
Dodgers.
I thought I saw North Dakota State there as well.
You might have, but the Dodgers were there 2 days ago because they were playing the Nationals.
Right.
The Mookie Betts showed up. Mookie Betts didn't want to show up the first time. He showed up this time, and he was happy to be there. Big smile on his face. I mean, it's an honor to go, whether you believe in the guy that's holding the office or not. I mean, it's like, wow, check out the White House.
I've never understoed it. It wouldn't matter who would be there. You got to go.
The Eagles are going this month. The Philadelphia Eagles, they'll be there. And not all of their players like the president, but they're going to be there. And if Biden was in the office and I played for the Boston Celtics, my ass would have been there. Absolutely. 100%.
Speaking of that, is that who won the NBA title last
It
year?
is. Now,
It's
here's
hard to
something.
believe that I can't even, I don't
Yeah,
even.
well, you don't follow it, but here's what's coming up. The NBA season ends on Sunday. So now we get into the playoffs. That gets interesting.
Yeah.
And the way they do this playoff format, because we asked about this and we talked about this, I think, last year, we didn't understand it. What will happen is the 7 and 8s will play seeded teams in each conference will play. The 9 and 10 seeded teams in each conference will also play. If the winner of the 7-8 game will stay as a 7 seed. The loser of that game will play the winner of the 9-10 game. The loser of the 9-10 game is out, and the winner of that 8 versus 9 game or 7 versus 9 game will then become the 8 seed. That's how that works, and then they play the 8 from there.
Yeah. Text on the Titan More text line. I don't know who this is from. It says, "Did you see Noah Kent with the swinging gator on his back?" Yeah, that was one of the biggest swinging gator logos I've ever seen. It was enormous. Paul in the Panhandle says, "Well, gents, may as well start early, throw deep at least 6 times a game." Yeah, that's for football, Paul. But we're not even going to talk about throwing
I
deep
got
in the
something called
scrimmage tomorrow.
Captain Trash. He sent me a book and a great USMC shirt. I forgot I'll bring it on Monday to show everybody. I'm going to read his book. It's a short book, not long. Although I hope I can read a book because my attention span is about 5 seconds. So we'll give it a shot, Paul. Thank you so much for the book and signing it. He said I'd be a great fighter pilot in an F-4 Phantom jet.
I don't know about.
I don't even like flying in a 747. So, I'm not sure about that, Paul. But thank you so much for the generous gift, and I will read the book.
Electronics World Integration and Design Specialist for smart home automation and entertainment, affordable local installation service and support. Check them out, electronicsworld.net. Tony says, first of all, Andy says North Dakota State that I don't know if it's legit or not, but you can choose. The bottle is the gator, like
the head.
Yes, the head of an alligator, not the gator head logo, but like a real alligator.
Yeah.
But you can choose if you want Woodford Reserve.
Really?
4 Roses.
Now
you can choose what you want to go in it. That's why I'm not sure if it's legit or not. And I was correct. Man. Tony does have on Peter Millar.
Okay, Tony.
Tony has good taste. Well, Franklin says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Let's see what JC has to say about this.
Oh, Franklin.
CBS has both Walter Clayton and Alex Condon going in the first round.
Oh my God. Well, then that must mean these NBA teams are pretty desperate for players. I can't imagine that. Alex Condon cannot keep up with NBA players right now. I think maybe he's got a chance later in life, but he needs to come back to college.
I just don't think his skill set is even close to Thomas Houck's.
It's not. This is
Dan wants to know, are those fake bottles? I had to do some serious searching through the internet for those. I don't know if they're real or not. If somebody orders one and gets it, let me know because I'd like one.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm a Crown Royal guy. I'm not a big liquor drinker. I don't really drink a lot of it, but if I have one, it's a Crown Royal and Diet Coke, which I know everybody just wants to throw up. Here it is.
I've switched the Crown Royal to.
Oh yeah, because it's Canadian. So I'm going to Woodford Reserve. This right here is the alligator head on the bottle. Yeah. That is super ass cool right there. So I don't know. I do like Crown Royal, but you're right. It's Canadian. I'm boycotting anything that's not made within the Continental 50, Alaska and Hawaii. which is probably not everything. So I may not be buying anything here soon, except food.
Kanye Ryan on YouTube, brought to you by Claude Pond, says, "Is Kent eligible to compete for UF in the fall?" Yes, he is. All right, here's a good one from Mike. Shane JC, what do you make of all the latest news about Lagway possibly needing surgery? I don't know if it's true or not, but there's some people that like Mark Long, some people that don't. Mark Long was on this show months ago, said that he works for the Associated Press. He knows he gets scoop. I bet he has to have surgery at some point in his career. I don't know if it's going to be while he's a Gator or when, but it's concerning because a 19-year-old, in my opinion, should not have arm problems.
Yeah, I agree. That's too young in life to have an arm problem. Surgery can be many different things. It can mean 1 month off, 3 months off, 8 months off. It may just
See,
be
I'm
something
not
minor.
sure Carson Beck's going to be ready to play this year. He has
Right.
not thrown football either.
Yeah. So it could be a minor thing. I'm glad I'm not paying Carson Beck $4 million for that kind of thing. Somebody in Miami doesn't care though, and is. But DJ Lagway needs to be on that field in August. And again, you can have surgery in May and be perfectly fine by July if it's a minor surgery. That's it could be anything.
Yeah.
So surgery is a kind of a broad term, it's a general term. But if Mark Long has this great scoop, I would think he might know a little bit more than just the word surgery, because that means or implies that somebody told him something. And I'm sure they didn't just say, "Oh, hey, Mark, dude, I got a scoop for you. He's having surgery." Mark didn't just look at him and go, "Well, is it a little minor type of surgery or is it reconstructive? What kind of surgery?" And then I'm sure that source either told him, which would legitimize his source, or say, "I don't know what kind of surgery," which would somewhat delegitimize his source. But he felt good enough to go with it. And so I think he knows more than just surgery. So if you want to get something out of Mark Long, invite him to dinner, get him drunk, and he'll tell you, because that's what you need to do. Otherwise, it's all just speculation, even whether he said it or not. It's the kind of surgery that matters, because hell, I can get surgery on my knee and I can be out there playing golf in a week. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it, right?
Well, I'd like to get a little bit more than just a generalized speculative statement. I mean, I'm
well,
sure
I've been hearing this for months. So
so you have sources.
I don't know what's wrong. It makes no sense to me.
Well, but you didn't
I
say
said it. I said it the first day when they came out and said he will not be throwing during spring practice. JC, you're 60 something years old, right?
60.
Okay, you're a well-known sportscaster for all those years at TV10,
Yeah,
but you
that's right.
follow sport.
Uh-huh.
What concerns me is I have never in all my years of following college football, because I love college football,
Yeah.
seen or heard a starting quarterback for a team not throwing a football in spring practice. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
Okay, that's my point. That's why I'm concerned.
I get it. And it's legit.
It's
This is
none of
their
this
best.
about him, because it makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. So, but anyway, there's nothing we
Well,
can do about it.
here's
Just
how you
hope he's
can,
okay to
but
play.
here's how you can speculate off that. You can say, well, this is more serious than just the generalized statement of needing surgery. Or you could say, this is just totally precautionary and there's no point to having them out there. You could say that.
But here's the thing is, like, I go back to, you know, I go back to the Spurrier quarterbacks, right? We threw 400 balls a day.
Yeah.
Not one person had an arm problem.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had a pretty good sophomore year, and I had two more springs left, right?
Right.
I still practiced and I still threw the football. Werfel had a good freshman year. He had 3 more years. Rex had multiple years after that. Jesse, Doug, all of them. It's not like they rested, right?
That's right.
Right. And they've all done more than what DJ's done.
It's hard to believe, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I don't even want to discuss anymore because I just don't understand it.
I get
Next
it.
on the Titan our text line from Jimmy. He says, "Did you guys see the amount of money that BYU is throwing out in NIL? I saw, God, where was that kid? Some kid is getting $3.5 million in the transfer portal to go play for the Cougs of BYU.
So yesterday on Fox News, Greg Sankey, Tony Petiti, the ACC guy, and Brett Yormark. I think his name is Jim Davis. Anyway, Brett Yormark of the Big 12. They're on Fox News, and Brett Baer is asking them about the state of college athletics and congressional action to try to rein in some of this wild, wild west payments, NIL, all of this kind of these issues. And these guys are basically begging Congress to come in and create a law or some sort of legislation that's going to rein in the players and the way they're being paid and so forth. The problem is that they have to get Congress to do it because they know that they will lose every single court case in America if they try to rein in the NIL and the way money's played because of what happened with the Supreme Court and because of the money that they're now required to pay their student athletes. So Congress is the only one that apparently now can save college football. That's where we've gotten in this world right now. So I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I think Congress is a little busy, although not really. They spent about 10 days in the House in the month of March. So they took 20 days off. So I'm not really sure who's busy and who's not, or what's going to be listened to and brought to the fore and what's not. But these guys are basically begging congressional action to come in and control their sporting business. That's hilarious to me. That just blows my mind. Shows you just how wrong they have been with this student payment thing, because they would lose every single court case that was brought if they tried to create some sort of legislation themselves without Congress, it seems like to me. Otherwise, why are you bugging your representative in the House? He's got other things to talk about right now, but that's what they're doing.
So by concrete builds firm foundations for generations, you stand on it. We stand by. A few more minutes with JC on the Titan and more highlights.
I mean, why don't you ask one of these big shots you put on this show about that? Because this is what bothers you every single day you wake up in the morning. So
what bothers me?
Yeah, it does. You can't stand the way these kids are getting paid these days. You can't.
No, it's ridiculous. But it does. Right. You know what bothers me more is when I three-putt, JC. I'm more concerned about my short game in my older years that I used to be phenomenal.
You run a highly viewed, highly rated podcast.
Nobody has the answers, JC. Nobody.
Well, don't get the damn answer.
Okay. Look, Google Kirby Smart. I think Kirby has a little more pull than I do, and Kirby doesn't have the damn answers. He's pissed off. So, Barone71 says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. QB, what's going on with Ben Hill Griffin renovation? I saw an article said the 2026 season be played at Camping World, but I don't know if it's somebody asked me that too. Oh, that would be a disaster.
Oh my God. I mean,
I don't know how else to put it.
I don't even like going to a hotel in downtown Orlando, much less going to the game in that dump. But I mean, if that's what he's got to do, that's what he's got to do.
I think if they do renovations, which I know they want to make some seating nicer than others, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think they'll have to look, they can bring in lights where people can work at night, right?
Yes.
Bring in the construction companies that work for Texas A&M University, because they get stuff built very fast.
Yes, they do. QB, it can also be a variety of things, but that basically tells me that the Jaguars will be playing in 27 in Orlando, not here. So
the Jags ain't going to. There's too much that has to happen to this stadium
that
for
will
the Jags to come.
So they're going to Orlando.
The Orlando Stadium is already set up for NFL teams.
So the Jags are going to play in Orlando.
I would put a lot of money on that.
Okay.
Real quick.
Shoulder issues.
Barone also said he saw that Tennessee should be negotiating a lesser NIL deal with Nico based on how he played last year. I don't know if that's true or not. So Rob says, translate, Shane thinks Billy is acting like a blump, bleep, 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 and is being overly precautious like a beta, and this is why this team is going to be – it may not be Billy's choice. In today's world, the athletes have a lot to say whether they want to practice or
and so
want to sit out. I mean, it's like the NFL.
The trainers too. I mean, the trainers can take you off the game. But Billy, by the way, since you mentioned him, he had at the game the other night, there was a picture of him. I think this was a real picture. I don't think it was Photoshopped, but he had a sport coat on and a black shirt, I think it was.
No, he had a royal blue or bluish sport coat and a white button down.
I see.
He looked fine to me. I don't know why people care.
Well, most people wear orange and blue when they go to a game.
Well, he had a blue coat on, JC. He was looking professional. You know, we have a friend who really gets irritated that basketball coaches don't wear sport coats anymore, and they look like idiots wearing quarter zips.
Yes.
Why do people care what people wear?
Well,
if Billy was in there with his shirt off, that would be a problem. But Billy had a button-down shirt and a nice sport coat on at the Final Four. Okay. And I don't care if he wears yellow on the sideline.
I'm picking on.
I don't think anybody gave a damn when Todd Goldenstaff and him wore black, did they, this year? They wore it in one of the they wore black pants in one of the Final Four games.
Okay.
None of that matters.
That doesn't matter. You're right. What matters is if the teams are wearing off colors. And then I have a problem.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I'm exhausted.
What?
JC, let's get to this day of sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your
Oh,
financial
you
life
are. What if
at
we had to do
Campus
this show on
USA Credit
Saturday and
Union.
Sunday too? You
2004 Masters.
okay.
Phil Mickelson claims his first major title with a birdie on the final hole
I was there.
to win over Ernie Els. Remember, Phil
Oh,
had that little goofy little jump.
yeah,
His vertical was about
it was
an
so
inch
awkward.
and a half.
It was so awkward. But I saw that. I was there that year, and I saw that day. He played. He couldn't go. He couldn't miss. It was a great day. Ernie Els played great too. Thought he was going to win it actually.
So it was an April Fool's joke that people were talking about for the 2026 Gators playing in Orlando.
Okay, that's cool. Glad. Thank you for that. April Fool's was a week ago.
I guess I didn't see it.
9 days
Somebody
ago.
asked me about it. I was like, I have no knowledge of it, but I cannot see us playing. You take away your entire home field advantage by playing in Orlando.
Nah, that's not. Thank God that's tomfoolery. Tomfoolery.
Tomfoolery.
It's tomfoolery.
All right, JC.
I just want to know why my golf course here is letting 24 guys from the University of Florida come and invade our tee times in the middle of Friday. Very upsetting. We're going to have a conversation with the GM today.
What player?
And he's the reason they're going to let this happen. Scott Hampton set this up with the guy here, and they're going to charge event rates, not just guest fees. So it's a little bit of a moneymaker for them. But
who is playing?
It's just 24 UF guys. There's some coaches, perhaps some other official UF people.
Why are they coming there?
Because of what you said was going on at UF.
Our course is closed for another tournament, but
so they're coming here.
All right. So Chris says, before we get you out of here, I want to get your thoughts on this. I'll give mine.
Sure. Yeah.
On YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plumbing. In regards to DJ's shoulder, I'd suggest going and watching High Top Sports from Wednesday night. They had DJ's QB coach on discussing everything. Okay. I don't care what a QB coach says. I've never believed in those things. Majority of these QB coaches have never played quarterback in their life.
Well, he may know.
Silly ass drills. They have them doing these off-platform throws. I don't know why anybody practices off-platform throws because it's bad for your arm. Let your natural ability make the off-platform throw in a game. You're going down, you're being sacked, and you throw it sidearm. That's natural instincts. You do not have to practice that. That is putting strain on your shoulders. So anyway, I'm not going to watch it because if again, I will go to my grave. There's no reason a guy his age should have shoulder problems.
I guess all he's saying is that he's got a little bit more feedback from DJ because he is close to DJ as his quarterback coach.
Right. But DJ's not going to come on or tell his quarterback coach, my shoulder feels great. They're just holding me out. That makes no sense, JC. You have all these new receivers.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's right. It's an enigma. It just doesn't. It doesn't hold water. So we'll see what happens. Hey,
Reggie says he agrees that QB coaches these days just teach these kids to be block drill players and not football. They do all these drills that have they're money grabs. I don't care what anybody says. I've trained quarterbacks. We go out there for an hour back when I used to do it. If your kid could not throw and do what I said, I told mom and dad, I do not want your money anymore. Your kid needs to change positions or play another sport. There's no reason for me to keep having the John Cornells who can't throw a 10-yard curl route come out and has bad feet. It makes no sense.
There's no reason.
And it's all and I watch these things. I watch these drills they do, and I'm going, what the hell are they doing?
Well, I think the coach needs to step up and say, hey man, we're not doing that. I don't care what your position is or how much you
but they really can't do that now because all these players, JC, have these little posses, whatever you want to call them. They have their manager, their director of social media, they're
incorporated. They're
like an NFL player.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's just hope it's not serious and he can play. That's all.
100%. But I still think it's too early to worry about unless there's something major in terms of the word surgery goes. If the word surgery just means something minor, then fine. He'll be fine. He'll be there in August. We've got 4 months until August. That doesn't sound like a long time, but
it's right around the corner. JC, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. That's JC joining us on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Take a quick time out. Come back. We'll get Graham Hall's thoughts. You're watching and listening. PodUp Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Meals Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG and A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football.
Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand.
We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers and go Gators.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Florida Crackers, the brand for original Floridians. Great food and southern hospitality in the center of the universe, Brooksville, Florida. That's floridacracker.com. Back to the Titan MR Highline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. It's our man from 24/7 Sports with Graham Hall, who has been traveling the world, following the mighty Gators to their national championship. What's up, Graham? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I'm blessed. What a run to be able to be at every NCAA tournament game. That is just an absolute dream. And this team made it all worth it. I know that you guys are still out there celebrating. I'm still a little bit shocked that it actually came to fruition like that. You know, for each game, especially 4 second-half comebacks, was expecting the magical run to end at some point. A little bit disappointing, you know. But wow, what a run! What a team! Special group of Gators for sure, man. I'm blessed to been able to be out there and watch it all.
Yeah, Graham, I think I saw a picture of you on Twitter with you with the confetti behind you. And that was the first team that's won a national title that you've covered, correct?
It is. It's been a long wait, man. You know, I was out there in 2017 for baseball. You know, I didn't go out to Omaha for that, but we've been waiting for, you know, football and basketball to do it. I was, you know, an eighth grader, I think, for Florida's back-to-back national championships in basketball here, you know, and so I wasn't out there on the street. I wasn't out there, you know, certainly wasn't on the beat. I wasn't in college. I was a student as well during that 2013-2014 run to the Final Four, and I was in the Final Four. So we've been waiting to cover, you know, a national championship like this. It's been, you know, a long wait, but certainly a bucket list item. You know, everyone dreams of being able to cover a national championship and be there for the celebration. And now I can say I've done it. I'm very blessed.
What was your drink of choice down there on the Riverwalk?
Oh man, that's tough. Can I say water? No, I'm more of a whiskey diet with a lime type guy. But I'll be quite honest, I was like, I went out there and I met some friends who were Florida fans, and we got to watch the River Walk. But I was trying not to be stressed because we had a, we had to drive from San Antonio to Austin at 5:30 in the morning
Ooh.
and fly out of Austin. So I kept looking at the time and being like, man, I got to be at the airport. I got to be up and drive to the airport in 3 hours here. But I made sure to have a little whiskey diet lime just to kind of celebrate the end of that postseason run and all the work that we've done. And certainly being away on the road, from your significant other for the past 3 weeks is, tough. You got to celebrate that it was all actually worth it, honestly, because if they had come up short, then you're kind of sitting there being like, oh man, just came up a little bit too short after all the sacrifices you made for the past, 3+ weeks.
Before we switch to football now, that spring football, pretty much as we were talking before the show, you guys haven't really covered football because you've been on this run with the basketball team, and the spring game is tomorrow. Obviously, the Gator basketball team loses 3 studs at the guard position. Have a couple guys on the roster now that can fill in, but what are you hearing from a portal standpoint who they may try to go after?
Yeah, Florida definitely was doing their due diligence and having meetings during the postseason about who was entering. They were evaluating guys. Absolutely. I think there's certainly a few names out there that everyone has kind of seen at this point that are worth watching. Xavier Lee, the point guard at Princeton, who played high school basketball with Thomas Houck. We'll see how that one ends up. There was a little bit of an incentive for teams to try and get these deals done before rev share kicked in here, just knowing how much of a integral role NIL was still going to play here. It does look like Florida could be the leader for him, but nothing to my knowledge right now has been set up. He's going to go to St. John's this weekend here, so we'll see how that all shakes out. St. John's has certainly got a healthy NIL fund. They were offering, even Walter Clayton probably more money from what I've heard than Florida was able to offer him at the time. So something to monitor, absolutely. I think that A.J. Brown is a name out there that I think people have seen. That's one we have been hearing for a couple of weeks here, but he hadn't actually entered the portal yet. He's the older brother of Florida freshman guard Isaiah Brown. Had a really good season this past year. The year before, A.J. Brown was limited to, I think, 9 games and wasn't really super effective. He still needed to work on his shot. He still was in a little bit of a slump, but this past year, he had a really good year. He was able to play nearly every single game. I think he played 29 games, shot 39% from three-point land. He knocked down 82% of his free throws. He can create his own shot. He's physically developed. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Will Richard archetype here. Certainly, you're going to need to see how he translates to the SEC and continue improving. But that's someone who I think Florida probably feels pretty good at. I can't say right now how much they've set some things up. There's a few other things that they've been dealing with, obviously, the postseason celebrations, of course, but also some exit meetings, figuring out who all they're going to lose here. So those are 2 names absolutely to monitor, and I'm sure that they are in for a few other players here that haven't been publicly reported, because that's one of the things you want to do in the transfer portal is not have every move you make get out there, because once that happens, especially if you're a coaching staff like Florida's and you've evaluated so well, when another program hears that you're after a guy, they're going to sit there and be like, okay, maybe this guy is a little bit better than expected. We're going to make them a lucrative offer, and then you keep them away from the championship winning team. So that certainly is something that I would caution fans to keep in mind here, is that Florida maybe has to operate a little bit more in the shadows right now than they have in years past, knowing that they got a little bit of a late start to the portal. And also their evaluations have been praised so much that when it gets out there who they're going after, that probably raises the price a little bit, right? So I do think that for fans' best interest, if you want to make sure that Florida has the best chance in reloading, maybe for once, and this is kind of funny coming from a reporter, right? But maybe everything shouldn't become public knowledge until it's all set in stone and there's not too much more of a concern about someone going elsewhere here. So be a little bit patient here. I think that you can give this coaching staff the benefit of the doubt that they evaluate well. And if they want someone, it's probably a wise addition to the roster.
Dan's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, says, Graham, have you heard if the Houston guard Sharp is transferring maybe to Florida? He's a Tampa kid. He reminds me And for people that don't know who he is, he's the one that Walter Clayton closed out on. He was trying to attempt the shot to win the game. He reminds me of kind of an Elijah Martin, because I feel like when I look at the guards for Houston, Elijah Martin could play for them because of his physicality. Have you heard anything about Sharp possibly coming here?
I have not. And not saying that it's not a possibility. And obviously an in-state guy makes a lot of sense, but I have not heard anything on that right now. I do think that it would be a beneficial move for both parties here. But with that said, I think that Houston is well positioned to be right back here in the postseason, you know, final weekend conversation here next season. I mean, with Uzan and who else they're going to bring back on that roster, Tugler, this is, Roberts, this is a team that looks like that they could be back here in April next year. So that certainly is a conversation or a debate that maybe, Emmanuel Sharp is considering because he has a really good chance to get a second chance at winning a national championship next season. But an in-state native has a chance to, if he does, of course, come play for the champs. I think he'll be, poised with making an interesting decision.
Yeah, I think the early preseason polls I've seen is Houston at number one. They must have a lot of guys back. Speaking of basketball, I want to move to football here in a second, but we got a lot of people chiming in. We can't be cheap now with the momentum. Uh, we are renovating the basketball facility this year. Is that correct? Obviously, Hugh Hathcock's played a big role in the basketball program, but Gary Condren, we mentioned this the other day. It was noted that he made $1 million donation to the basketball program. What all are they going to do to the basketball facility? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, and they're going to renovate a lot of the interior stuff from some changes to the court. They're going to get a larger space for the women's program. It's a shared basketball complex, as you know. So there's going to be things done on both sides. They're going to improve the locker rooms, which you remember the fanfare that surrounded the Florida football program when they got those fancy lockers. The Florida lockers in the basketball practice complex need to be upgraded. That's going to be a big part of it as well. They're going to make a lot of just quality of life renovations. They're going to help with improve the medical facilities in there too. So a lot of little things like that. They're going to tally up to being, $8 million here. Just kind of give a little bit of an overhaul renovation inside, not a tear down in any way, but they're going to improve a lot of the interior aspects of the facility. It was as you know, state of the art facility 2 decades ago, but now in this facilities war that we're in, especially across the SEC, you got to stay current and make sure that you continue working to be ahead of the curve. And since here in Florida had gotten a little bit behind that, but they're going to make those changes this offseason. They actually have been talking about doing this for half a decade now, and now it's finally coming to fruition. It's going to be done over the summer, and it's going to be done by October in time for the start of the year. I know that they're going to try and get it done maybe a little bit before that, from what I've heard, just knowing that Florida's going to be back in the building and going through preseason camp before the conclusion of the renovations. So you want to make sure that as you're practicing that maybe, those guys get a chance to fully enjoy that, even though they're going to enjoy that during the season. So it's another incentive, like I mentioned on social media the other day, for Florida to add talent, having state-of-the-art facilities, competitive NIL, a coaching staff that obviously evaluates well. That's how you stay relevant. That's how you stay competitive and win championships. And so that's just another thing on Florida's checklist that they're taking care of here right now, making sure that basketball complex is state-of-the-art right now.
Yapa Latin Cafe, discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience of Yapa Latin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua, never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. A few more minutes with Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports. All right, football. Spring game is tomorrow. Obviously, you guys have been on the road, haven't really watched a lot of it. Obviously, we know people love the young talent, the receiver position, but I guess the fans, they always want to see the quarterbacks play, right? Well, DJ ain't gonna be throwing the ball. So I guess we're gonna evaluate who we think is gonna be the backup quarterback. Harrison Bailey or Tramel Jones, I would assume. What is Graham Hall looking at in this glorified scrimmage we're gonna see tomorrow?
Oh man, I'm looking at Aiden Warner, right? I mean, that was the guy who had a tough 6 quarters of football there, faced two of the top teams in the country last year, second half against Georgia, and then on the road at Texas. I'm certainly feeling like he didn't get the best chance to show what he could do. I know he's just a preferred walk on here, but from what we've heard, he looks pretty good right now. So I do think that you're going to see him on Saturday in that game. Tramel Jones is someone who, you mentioned that I wasn't expecting too much of him out of this spring because he was coming off that injury and we didn't know what his health was at, but he was close to 100% by the time that they started spring camp. He's going to be able to go out there, obviously not going to take off and run, but in a non-contact jersey, let's see what he can do as a freshman. You always want to make sure that you reload at the quarterback position every single year. That's what separates those, the teams like Georgia and Texas from the cream of the crop right now, is that if a quarterback goes down, well, look, they got another, capable blue chip prospect quarterback who can come in there and take over the reins. And you want to make sure that Tramel Jones is the next in line to do that. Certainly, I don't know what to expect out of Harrison Bailey. It would be awesome if he had a great performance here, but kind of a guy who's a journeyman at this point. I don't know what to expect out of him. I'm really interested in Aiden Warner and Tramel Jones. I'm also interested in seeing what some of these freshmen look like, not just the wide receivers, but, probably the most praised freshman that we've heard about is Jaden Woods. Let's actually see it. This is a guy that coaches are talking about as someone that you're going to know as a freshman this season. Let me see what we're actually talking about here when we get out and have more than just, 15 minutes of individual drills. I'm excited to see him go against some offensive linemen and get some reps in the swamp here. Certainly some other transfers as well that I'm really intrigued by. J. Michael Sturdivant is someone that we've heard a lot of great things about. I know that you're always talking about the shiny new toys with the freshmen, and rightfully so, but let's see what this guy can do, because he was someone that wasn't, I think, super praised as a transfer, and now he comes in here and we've heard a lot of good things about him. Let's see it in action, because they certainly have to replace, Shamira DK and Elijah Badger, and you want to make sure that you continue getting that top transfer who can come in and play. So those are the things I'm looking for. Absolutely. I do think that there are some other questions that, I want to see answered. Miles Graham playing in his first spring game, Aiden Childs playing in his first spring game. I want to see those guys absolutely, how they have improved since their freshman years. And in the secondary, there's a lot of questions in the third level of that defense, especially with all the injuries Florida has been dealing with, at corner and at safety here. So you have a wholly new secondary coach here. You got a lot of new pieces in the secondary, some guys who've been dealing with injury. Let's see what some of these young additions, Lagonza Hayward, Drake Stubbs. Let's see what, Michael Caraway Jr., obviously coming over from Southern Mississippi. Let's see what Florida has added in the transfer portal, because they're certainly going to need to be guys who are going to see the field this year and play for this team.
Tanya Ron on YouTube, brought to you by Quad, says, how is the team divided up for the orange and blue game? I want to say I saw it briefly. It looked like the starting defense is orange, the starting offense is blue. Is that accurate?
I think that's right. Yeah, I didn't study it too much last night. I was really just kind of, looking over briefly. Yeah, trying to at least. And, baseball was going on too, so I was watching that. And, I think it's interesting how they divvy it up. I do think it's wise to kind of have, your first team going against your second team. But with all that said, and I don't want to diminish the how they split up the roster, but the reason I probably didn't care too much in a sense was that Florida has claimed that this is the deepest team of the Billy Napier era. So I'm expecting it to be competitive regardless of how it's set up here. I don't expect one team to have too much separation against the other. I honestly am expecting Florida's defense, given that we're not going to see DJ Lagway, you're not going to see a ton of creative things, displayed from Florida's offense. I'm expecting Florida's defense to come out here and dominate, whether it's the orange team or the blue team. If they really have the depth that they claim, and this defense is really taking the next step, I'm expecting it to be more about individual performances and who looks really, really good, rather than let's see if orange beats blue or vice versa. No offense, not to say you shouldn't be invested in that, but I'm more invested in the individuals than the orange and blue team as collectives. Not to kind of be a Debbie Downer there in a sense,
I'm
because
with you there.
I just want to see some individual guys.
We got about 2 minutes left. The transfer portal window, I believe, opens around April 16th for a week or two. Not asking for names, but do you think we have one guy that's already gone on the portal, I believe, the safety, I forget his name. Do you think we could possibly have other guys leave?
Definitely. I definitely think that you'll see some other players enter the transfer portal. I'm not going to name names. Like you said, I don't want to, speculate whatsoever, but let me remind people, this is a competitive market right now. Even with rev sharing, NIL is not going anywhere. And there are teams out there who need to fill voids on their roster, just like Florida does. And there are countless agents working behind the scenes trying to get more money for their clients from what they've been hearing about spring ball. Their guys not getting the playing time they deserve. Well, let me go talk to another team about what they would potentially offer. Are they going to offer my client more money than they're getting at their current program? That is happening everywhere. It's happening at Florida. It's happening at Alabama. It's happening at Georgia. If you think it's not happening to your program, then what does that say about the quality of your roster? It's not a good thing. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in the shadows. Agents are working on it. Players are getting pulled out of the portal. Guys are realizing that they're going to have an opportunity elsewhere. Portal is not going anywhere. I expect it to be a pretty hectic whatever week window it is for entering the portal. Florida will certainly lose some guys, and I expect them to add some guys here in the coming weeks. I think that is certainly just something that you can seem to bank on every single portal window right now. Not to give a cop-out answer. You're going to have guys leave your team, and you're going to add talent. If you're not doing that, you're not really trying to improve your roster as much as you can and maximize the windows that you have to do so. So that is certainly going to happen at Florida here. And I'm kind of intrigued to see who it happens to, because there's a lot of guys they obviously don't want to lose here. But if another team makes a crazy offer, another collective makes a crazy offer here, it's kind of anything could happen, right?
Yep. Yeah. Graham, great stuff as always. Any specials and how people can follow you on X?
We've been doing a 50% off special right now. We're going to have another one here as the transfer portal window opens up. We'll have a lot of, coverage of Florida's championship celebration here, baseball tonight as well, spring game, you name it. We'll be covering the portal, recruiting, all the moves that Florida makes on their basketball and their football rosters in the coming weeks here. So check it out over at Swamp 247. You can follow me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Graham Hall. And let me just say, man, beautiful Masters background. I hope everyone enjoys it here. If you're not going to the spring game, it's not on TV. Throw on the dang Masters, man. Just do that.
And listen to me and Sean on the radio.
Do that. Yes, absolutely. Listen to Shane and Sean on the radio here. And, don't be on Twitter griping about the spring game not being on TV. Throw on CBS, watch the Masters. You'll be okay, I promise. There's something much better on TV to watch, if we're being quite honest.
Absolutely. Appreciate your time, my friend. That is Graham Hall. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Injuries occur whenever and however, and it's never convenient for sprains, strains, and minor fractures. UF Health Orthocare makes it convenient for you 7 days a week, including evenings, and walk-ins are welcome. That is UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Have a great weekend. If you're going to the Orange and Blue game, be safe. Enjoy your time. If you're watching the Masters, enjoy that as well. We'll recap it all on Monday. Take care, folks.